On this news review, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says that his country has been urging Persian Gulf nations to consider a joint security mechanism for the region.
The Indian friends, we have been suggesting to the Gulf countries to start thinking about collective security mechanism, something like OSCE for Europe, starting with confidence-building measures, inviting each other to military exercises. We talked to GCC countries, about half of them, 3 countries were supportive immediately, 3 other countries said that they needed more time. Recently we revived that idea and we had a conference in Moscow in September on the collective security system, confidence building system in the Persian Gulf and around it. Iran has proposed a non-aggression pact.
Lavrov was speaking at a security conference in New Delhi. He said Russia is concerned about what he called the dangerous situation in the Persian Gulf region. That's why Lavrov added Russia has proposed a collective security mechanism to ease tensions. He said the Russian suggestion is aimed at not only stopping adversaries in the region, but promoting cooperation. Tensions have been running high in the Persian Gulf since June last year. That's when 2 oil tankers were attacked mysteriously near the Strait of Hormuz. Things spiraled further earlier this month after the U.S. assassinated top Iranian general Qasem Soleimani. For more on that story, we're now joined by political analyst and Middle East expert Saeed Chabi joining us from the British capital, London. Also, political commentator Jason Unruhe joining us from Niagara Falls, Ontario. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Let's start off with Mr. Chabi in London. Weigh in on what the Russian foreign minister is proposing, a joint security mechanism for the region, urging Persian Gulf nations to step up their cooperation in that regard.
Thank you very much. Of course, this has been a demand for almost 4 decades now, since the inception of what is called now the Gulf Cooperation Council in 1981. It was established at that time to secure the welfare of the ruling tribes in Arabia, in the 6 countries forming that club. During the Iraqi imposed war on Iran. So the idea has been floating around that there is a need for collective security. That GCC has failed to produce any security for the region because it became a tool in the hands of the Americans and the British. So it lacked the independence, the ability to maneuver at times of crisis, and it has always sought to distance Iran. We must not forget that Iran has sovereignty over half of the Persian Gulf. The whole Gulf is split into two almost equal parts, one belonging to Iran and the southern part belongs to the 6 GCC countries, plus Iraq also has a little bit of it. So you cannot exclude Iran from any security arrangement of that lake, of that enclosed ocean or Gulf or sea. But unfortunately, it is not the GCC countries that are dictating the rules, but it is the Americans who do not want to leave the region in peace. This is why they have sent so many warships to that region, and they are threatening war all the time. These threats are intended to ensure that the GCC countries continue to siphon the money of the people to the Americans in the name or under the disguise of military deals. So I believe that, yes, there is a need for collective security measures, arrangements in the Persian Gulf, but it should include all the countries that have interest in that region, including Iraq, let alone Iran, which has half of the Gulf for itself. So it is a sound proposal by the Russians, and I hope the United Nations will push for it, that you must have a collective security arrangement, excluding the foreign powers, especially the United States.
Jason Unruhe, I'd like you to comment on that as well. A collective security arrangement to provide security in the region by countries in the region, for countries in the region. Time and again, Iranian officials have stated that why are foreign forces in the region, in the Persian Gulf, trying to establish security? What do you say to that?
Well, I say it's very clear that the problem here is that the United States has been trying to force its will on many countries throughout the Middle East for many decades now. And that also includes former colonial powers such as the UK. Now, I think what Lavrov is trying to say here is that it's very clear that there is a problem in the Middle East due to the instability caused by the foreign powers. What there should be is some kind of a collective agreement by the actual, the Gulf states in general to provide their own security. One, to counter the meddling of particularly the United States. Because as we do know that the United States causes a problem wherever it goes, and this is particularly so with its allies Israel and Saudi Arabia. And this kind of instability has negative impacts given the very important given the importance of the Strait of Hormuz, and that it's a very sensitive area given how much not just commodities trade, but also oil and gas passes through the area at the same time. And I think that one of many countries that's frankly sick and tired of this kind of instability and constantly worrying about having their ships attacked, what are very likely false flag attacks by the United States and Israel being blamed on Iran. I think they're tired of this, and they're trying to send a message to the Gulf countries that there needs to be much more stability to prevent any kind of problems in the future. And they would rather that be solved by the Gulf states themselves, by the people who live there, the people who work there, who this is their own land and can make those decisions for themselves without any kind of foreign interference. And I think that's the overall message that's being sent by Russia.
Sayed Chaubi, one last question. Can there be a security and calm with the presence of U.S. forces in the region? Your opinion?
Well, I think the whole region will become more stable if it doesn't have foreign troops or foreign forces. I do not believe that the existence and the presence of the American warships has secured any stability. On the contrary, it has emboldened some countries to undertake unnecessary and illogical steps, such as the war on Yemen by the Saudis and the Emiratis, and also the intervention by these two countries in several other Arab countries, Egypt, Sudan, Libya, and so on. So it is the existence, the presence of the American troops, and of course the British now, they are establishing a foothold in Bahrain. It is the existence and the presence of those foreign troops that are emboldening some countries to undertake unnecessary warmongering initiatives, and also creating the unhealthy atmosphere in the region, especially with Iran and Iraq as well.
Thanks a lot, gentlemen. Political analyst and Middle East expert Sayed Chaubi joining us from London. Also thanks to political commentator Jason Unruhe joining us from Ontario. And with that, it brings us to an end here on this edition of Press TV's News Review. But do stay tuned. There's plenty more to come here on Press TV.